we have National Curriculum Framework for Foundation Stage being released, and implementation of the recommendations of the curriculum framework. In tune with that, the activity books, trainers manual, and the textbooks of class 1 and 2 are all being developed at NCRT. And as you know that recently the education minister had released trainers manual as well as some activity books for foundation stage. Now, it's very important that whatever recommendations are given by the policy and then the curriculum framework, how we are going to or implement at the state level, at the ground level. Probably that is a question which we have in front of us. So, as an institution, as a district, as a state, how are we going to implement this? This is a huge change that we have in front of us. If we see a little bit of history, ఫౌండేషన్ స్టేజ్కి ఇంత ఇంపార్టెన్స్ ఫస్ట్ టైం ఇవ్వడం జరిగింది. అండ్ ఆ ఫౌండేషన్ స్టేజ్కి కరికులం కూడా ఫస్ట్ టైం డెవలప్ అయింది. సో దర్ సంథింగ్ విచ్ ద హోల్ నేషన్ ఈజ్ లుకింగ్ ఫార్వర్డ్ ఫర్. Now, how are we going to prepare the system, especially prepare the teachers for this changing needs? And what is the scientific procedure that we can follow in order to build the capacity of teachers and even whomever are the functionaries at different levels? Probably that is what is meant to be dealt in this particular session. So let me just give a brief description of the process and how it can be done at different levels. We will try to understand. So let me just share the presentation so that you will have both the visual as well as auditory part of learning. Let me just share the presentation. I'll just take 1 second. I'll just take a second. Yeah. I hope the slides are visible to you. Is it visible?
Yes, it's visible.
Yeah. Thank you. So the session title goes as Training Need Assessment. I would like to know, I think most of us would have undergone training programs. How many of us have had a chance of telling what we need? I hope all of you got it. How many of us got a chance of telling that this is what I need in the training program? This is how I want the training program to be. These are the resources which I need in the training program. Probably these are the questions that would be answered when we carry out the first step of training program. Now, let me I'll not go much into the details, but I surely would like to say that NEP 2020 in 5.15, if you look into the document, it talks about continuous professional development programs that need to be carried out, as just now Professor Vishnatappa sir told. It should be on continuous basis. It is not something which will happen yearly once, but continuously, and a minimum of 50 hours of continuous professional development opportunities every year is expected to be given to the teachers, irrespective of the different stages at which they are teaching. That means every teacher should take up 50 hours of continuous professional development opportunities in one form or the other, so that they, stand along with the needs of the teaching learning process. So this is one thing which had been envisioned by the policy, which is already many times have been spoken up in different different committees and commissions. Like, for example, Justice Verma Commission in 2012 had spoken about a systematic, rigorous, and evidence-based process. I think that's something very important. We need a comprehensive system of conducting the training programs. Now, if you look into the steps of conducting training program, I think all of you know about it, but let me just reiterate on that. First, these are the 5 steps. If you see ADDIE model or any of the models, it has 3, these 5 important steps. The step 1 is something identifying the needs through need assessment. అంటే టీచర్స్ కి ప్రెసెంట్ సిస్టమ్ లో వాళ్ళని ఎక్విప్ చేసుకోవాలంటే వాళ్ళ అవసరాలు ఏంటి, అవసరాలు అంటే ఇట్ ఈస్ అగైన్ ప్రొఫెషనల్ నీడ్స్ హియర్, అకాడమిక్ నీడ్స్ హియర్, to cope up with the systemic changes and to cope up or to make the teaching learning process more effective. What are the needs or training needs of teachers? So that has to be identified in order to make the capacity building programs or training programs or any intervention effective. So the program should be need based. If it has to be need based, then we need to identify the needs of teachers. Like, for example, right now NCF foundation stage is in place, and foundation stage is speaking about domains, curricular goals, competencies, learning outcomes, and so on and so forth. How are we going to translate these things in a systematic way? If we really look into it, there are a lot of terminologies, there are a lot of changes which is expected from the curriculum framework per se. So all these things, if we have to implement, that means there are a lot of things that the teachers have to equip with: knowledge, attitude, skills, everything. So, and apart from that, if you see the curriculum framework of foundation stage, it emphasizes on especially playway method, exploratory play, experiential learning, and play also. It speaks about different forms of play: free play, structured play, guided play, and so on and so forth. So how are we going to bring all these things in the classroom processes? కొన్ని మనం ఆల్రెడీ చేస్తూ ఉన్నాము, మిగతావి చేయాలంటే టీచర్స్ని ఎక్విప్ చేయాలి. సో టీచర్స్ని ఎక్విప్ చేయడానికి వాళ్ళకి ఏం తెలుసు, ఏం తెలుసుకోవాలి. ప్రాబబ్లీ దిస్ ఇస్ వాట్ వీ నీడ్ టు ఫైండ్ అవుట్ త్రూ నీడ్ అసెస్మెంట్. నౌ ఆఫ్టర్ నీడ్ అసెస్మెంట్ యూ విల్ డిఫైన్ ద ట్రైనింగ్ ఆబ్జెక్టివ్స్ లేకుండా ట్రైనింగ్ ప్రోగ్రామ్ కండక్ట్ చేయడం మూలాన మనం ఏం అపేక్ష పెట్టుకున్నామో అవి మనకి process lo sometimes we may fulfill, sometimes we may not fulfill. So a clear cut objective has to be defined. Based on the objective set, the training program can be designed, and depending upon the objective, the modality of the training program, the resources required for the training program, content of the training program will be decided. Once it is designed, then you can implement it in district level or state level or mandal level or cluster level or at the school complex level or at the institution level. So depending upon the needs, it will be decided. And once it is implemented at these levels, it will be evaluated. You can check whether the training program has been properly executed or not, whether it has reached the classroom level or not through follow-up process. So these are the 5 steps which we need to take it into consideration when we are conducting any training program. So let us in this particular session focus more on how to identify the training needs of the teachers or other functionaries. So the first step is called as training needs assessment. దేటి మీద ట్రైనింగ్ ప్రోగ్రామ్ ఇవ్వాలి, దేంట్లో టీచర్స్ కి ట్రైనింగ్ ఇవ్వాలి అని క్వశ్చన్ వస్తే అది గుర్తుపట్టడానికి we generally go for training need assessment. ఇక్కడ 2 words we get to know: training need assessment and training needs analysis. ఈ 2 actually they are into a comprehensive process. Why do we do it? How do we do it? And what is it? Let us try to see. See, I think all of us know that NCF and NEP 2020 is talking about the desired behavior, the expectations that they have it on the teachers of foundation stage or Anganwadi workers or preparatory stage or secondary stage and so on and so forth as per the NCFs. So their desired behavior is there. And then actual performance as practitioners you would have seen in the classrooms. Anganwadi teachers when they are teaching, or class 1-2 teachers when they are teaching, you would have observed through questionnaires or through observation schedules or through your own personal experience, what is happening in the schools. The gap between what is expected and what is observed, these gaps have to be filled up. So how are we going to identify these gaps? When we identify the gap, we'll try to understand what is the need, what is the training need, whether that need requires an intervention in the form of a capacity building program or an orientation program or on-site support for individual teachers. How are we going to do it? Probably that is what we are going to answer through need assessment and analysis. So first what we do, we assess the needs of the teachers, and then we try to understand the nature of the need, and accordingly we try to plan the programs. That is why identifying needs is very, very essential. For example, let me just see why it is required. If you go for research, a lot of evidences say that the expenditure which is spent on the training program many times is not resulting in the changes in the classrooms. Many times, a lot of money is pumped in the form of training programs. But why is it that the classrooms are still not being transformed? So somewhere there are gaps. What are those gaps? I think we need to identify them. So for that, we need to understand what is expected standard, what is expected by the policies, curriculum frameworks, committees, or commissions. What do they say? Second thing, what is the current status? Where do we stand? Probably then we get to answer why to conduct a training. Because just because the money is being given by the state, we are not conducting the programs. Our intention of conducting the training program has to be spelled out through the training needs that are derived from the teachers, point per se. And how can we improve the performance of the students? How to conduct the training program, the modality of the training program. Now, for example, the training program, if it is to enhance the skill set of the teachers, I think face-to-face would be better mode than, online many times because of various reasons. If I want to just create awareness among the teachers, then probably even online mode would be, convenient and you can reach masses. So creating awareness or orienting them to something, to the new thing, maybe we can do it in blended mode. But when you need to give hands-on experience, especially where face-to-face modality is more efficient, then we should go for that. So training need assessment also gives us a direction of how to conduct the program. And when to conduct the program also, we get a direction from need assessment. So probably these are some of the areas which would help us in carrying out. Now, I'll not go into the details of the theoretical perspective of training need assessment and analysis, but surely would like to draw your attention saying that need assessment, if it is conducted in a proper way, it really gives us answers to many questions which we have. What to train with? What are the aspects or what should be the content of the training program? What are the, processes that need to be developed among the teachers? And what are the, pedagogical processes and assessment related aspects that need to be trained among the teachers? And when to conduct the teachers and what should be the modality of the training programs? All these things can be, properly answered if we conduct training need assessment. Because training need assessment gives us a direction on what should be the intervention and how should be the intervention. Do you think that the intervention should be from the state level or at the district level or at the cluster level or at the school level? So organizational, personal and group level. So these are some of the important pointers that we get, which help us in conducting the training, programs. Not only that, even the modality of delivery, as right now what we are saying, on-site support. Now, there might be some teachers who need on-site support immediately when they are teaching or when they are doing it. So can we think of certain modalities to help them in understanding the things? And platform for sharing best practices and learn from each other, and then plan for training calendar, especially to develop a training calendar, training need assessment becomes a premise or base.
Right.
So these are some of the important reasons why we need to conduct a training, need assessment. Now, I'll just quickly go for the process. The first and foremost thing is identifying the problem and needs of the teachers. That helps us in designing the need analysis, and then we can think of collecting data and then analyze data and identify or design the training programs. We'll try to understand step by step with some examples. The first step is understanding the context. Why are we, in which context are we giving a training programs? Like, for example, right now, FLN, NCF Foundation stage is released, and we are having certain competencies, certain curricular goals, certain learning outcomes with us, and there are certain recommendations which curriculum framework had given. And in the light of that, we are going to have a new set of textbooks that might be introduced in the coming year. Now, that's a big challenge which we have in front of us. There might be some expected standards. There might be a new philosophy which is, found, underlying the textbooks. There might be new ways of teaching in which are prescribed or which are, given in the textbooks. There might be new ways of assessment that is expected from us. Now, this is the context actually which we have in front of us, and we have concern that these contexts, these concerns and have to be taken up in the coming academic year. But then we know that what is happening in our classrooms in class 1 and 2. There might be some gaps between what is expected and what is, prevailing or currently happening. Based on that, we can think of setting objectives. Let us assume that many times we have guided play and structured play in the classrooms. But the policy and the curriculum framework are speaking more about exploratory play or free play or art integration, sport integration, experiential learning. Now, the gap might be the teachers might not be knowing much about these things. Let us assume that they might not be knowing much about these things. They are not, if they are not implementing it in a proper way, then the objective we can set that the teacher's capacity has to be built on so and so things. So this might be a concern that we need to improve the capacity of the teachers. In which aspects is a question that we have. Policy is speaking something, curriculum framework is saying something, then textbooks are newly being made. Then what type of changes are we envisioning, especially in the teaching learning process? So there is a set criteria concern which is in front of us. That is one example. Another case, let us say that, let us assume that a baseline survey you have conducted for class 1 and 2 children, or NAS or SLAS data is there with, and you found that in 2 districts of Andhra Pradesh, the performance is very, and even the researches that are conducted by you in Andhra Pradesh itself or anybody else also shares the same findings. Now, the concern is to how to improve the achievement level of students. What is the gap that is existing between the expected and the records that they are speaking about? So based on that, you can decide or identify, the first step is, to help identify the concerns or identify the gaps. So there are certain pointers that we can help us in identifying the gaps. Like, for example, all of us know achievement of students choose the telsports sometimes Classroom practices, when we observe, we get to know what are the gaps. Learning resources, if there is any dearth of learning resources. Revision in curriculum frameworks. I think, right now we are having a new curriculum framework. Paradigm shift in pedagogical practices. Introduction of new textbooks. Introduction of new areas. Change in examination pattern or assessment. Integration of ICT. Updating knowledge structure of teachers. All these are some of the important pointers that help us in identifying the problems and needs of the teachers. Now, when I say needs of the teacher, very interesting thing, I really request you to pay attention to these. The type of, don't go by the terms and the things, but let me just make it simple for you. Many times, the teachers are aware of what they need. నాకు తెలుసు నేను పాఠం బాగా చెప్తాను కానీ అసెస్మెంట్ సరిగ్గా చేయట్లేదు, ఆర్ నాకు ఎలా అసెస్ చేయాలో అర్థం కావట్లేదు, ఆర్ అసెస్ చేస్తున్నాను దాన్ని ఎలా రికార్డ్ చేయాలో తెలియట్లేదు నాకు. So perceived needs are something which the teachers they are very well aware about their needs. Unperceived needs are something which the teachers do not know, that we will get to know when we go to classroom observations. వాళ్ళు పాఠం చెప్తున్నప్పుడు మనం చూస్తే we will get to know that they might not be knowing that these are the things that they have to learn. Third thing is misperceived needs. Many times the teachers think that they know, but they do not know that they do not know certain things. అంటే వాళ్ళకే తెలీదు వాళ్ళకి ఇవి రావు అన్నది. సో బట్ దే థింక్ దట్ దే నో ఇట్. మాకు తెలుసు అనుకుంటారు కానీ వాళ్ళకి తెలిసి ఉండదు. సో అది కూడా అబ్జర్వేషన్ వల్లనే మనకి గుర్తుపట్టగలుగుతాం. మెనీ టైమ్స్ దేర్ ఆర్ సర్టన్ మైనర్ థింగ్స్ విచ్ వి గెట్ టు నో దట్ టీచర్స్ classrooms have to be observed. And emergent needs are something that teachers realize they want and they need to learn. For example, most of the teachers right now after the curriculum framework might be wanting to know about, what are the different ways that we need to teach? How are the textbooks need to be implemented? Now, these are emergent needs. Now, another thing, if you look into, there are felt needs. That means teachers want to learn something. So they explicitly might be telling you. Expressed needs. Actually, what happens, a felt need becomes an expressed need when people put what they want into action. And comparative needs, anticipated needs. Anticipated need is something right now the new textbooks are going to be formed, let us assume. That means we and teachers have to be equipped for using the new textbooks that are going to be in place. So these are different types of needs. Many times from the top, from the state level, when we look into, we try to able to envisage the changes that are required. But what is that the teacher wants, or what is that the teacher wants to get trained in? Probably that is what we need to identify in training need assessment. So how are we going to do the training need? The methods or the strategies, playway method, experiential learning, all these things, and how assessment can be integrated in teaching learning process. Now that is the context that we have in front of us. So how are we going to do it? So first of all, as I told you, what is expected we should know. If we have to, identify the gap, what is expected and what is that we are at right now, then only we can identify the gaps. So I feel there is one thing called as document analysis. Document analysis right now, for example, we can take example of National Curriculum Framework, Nipun Bharat document or Vidya Pravesh guidelines. These are some of the documents that we have in front of us. We need to read them, understand them, review them, and come out with the important pointers that are essential to be implemented in our state. అంటే ఈ డాక్యుమెంట్స్ లో ఏవైతే ఇంపార్టెంట్ పాయింటర్స్ ఇచ్చారో, లైక్ ఫర్ ఎగ్జాంపుల్ ప్లేవే మెథడ్ యూజ్ చేయాలి, లేకపోతే ఆర్ట్ ఇంటిగ్రేషన్ ఉండాలి, స్పోర్ట్ ఇంటిగ్రేషన్ ఉండాలి, అసెస్మెంట్ రోజు అవ్వాలి, టీచింగ్ లెర్నింగ్ ప్రాసెస్ లో ఇంటిగ్రేటెడ్ పార్ట్ అయి ఉండాలి. Now these are some of the pointers which are there in the document. Please do identify all these pointers that you would like to bring into the ground, into the classrooms. So document analysis is one of the important way through which you can identify what is expected by the system. And then classroom observation can be done. Right now, how are the teachers teaching in the Anganwadis? How are Anganwadis handling the children or treating the children? How are they teaching? What is happening in the Anganwadis? And then what is happening in class 1 and 2? Are they really meeting with the expectations with the curriculum framework which is given to us? So classroom observation, then research evidences also. Now, these are some ways through which we can try to identify the gap between what is expected and what is presently observed. So this can be done by state level functionaries. Document analysis surely can be done by state level or functionaries involving teacher educators, teachers, and so on and so forth. I think this exercise really helps in understanding what is expected from us. The same way, if the performance in 2 districts is not good, then that is the context, and we want to improve the performance of students through the teachers. Then probably we need to understand why those 2 district children are not performing well. Is it a problem with the student factors, or is it related to teacher related aspects? If it is related to teacher related aspect, then probably we need to prepare a questionnaire and administer on the teachers, because there are certain things which the teachers would like to share. So questionnaire would serve the purpose. There are certain things which you would like to know. Like I told you that the teachers might not be knowing where they are going wrong. So probably focus group discussions, interviews, and classroom observations would serve the purpose at this juncture. So these are the different tools and techniques that we can use in order to identify where they are going wrong. Ekkada tappu jarugutundi leda ekkada takku, gap undi annadi identify cheyadaniki we can think of multiple ways, multiple data gathering devices. Data collection in this particular case can be done by the district level officials there. ఏ డిస్ట్రిక్ట్ లో పర్ఫార్మెన్స్ తక్కువ ఉందో అక్కడ ఆ డిస్ట్రిక్ట్ లెవెల్ అఫీషియల్స్ డేటా కలెక్ట్ చేసుకొని ఉంటే దట్ వుడ్ బి మోర్ ఎఫెక్టివ్. సో దేర్ ఆర్ డిఫరెంట్ డేటా గ్యాదరింగ్ డివైసెస్ దట్ కెన్ బి డన్, లైక్ యూ కెన్ హ్యావ్ అబ్జర్వేషన్ షెడ్యూల్స్, క్వశ్చనర్స్, రేటింగ్ స్కేల్స్, పర్ఫార్మెన్స్ అనాలిసిస్. ఆ డిస్ట్రిక్ట్ లెవెల్ టీచర్స్ క్లాస్ రూమ్ క్లాస్ వర్క్స్, హోంవర్క్స్ ఏమైనా ఉంటే అది అనాలిసిస్ చేయొచ్చు. మనం ఎక్కడ తప్పులు పోతున్నాయన్నది తెలుస్తుంది. స్కూల్ లెవెల్లో అయితే ఇంటర్వ్యూస్, ఫోకస్ గ్రూప్ డిస్కషన్స్ క్యాన్ బి conducted. Document analysis, I already told you. Very interesting thing I would like to share with you is work samples. Classroom homeworks will also reveal a lot of things. Many times we neglect these things. Direct information from students తో మాట్లాడడం వల్ల కూడా తెలుస్తుంది. రిపోర్ట్స్ ఆర్ రియాక్షన్స్ ఆన్ ప్రీవియస్ ట్రైనింగ్, ఇదివరకు జరిగిన ట్రైనింగ్ ప్రోగ్రామ్స్ రిఫ్లెక్షన్స్ ఆల్సో విల్ హెల్ప్ us. So these are different ways through which we can collect information from teachers, students, parents, alumni, and so on and so forth, or even resource persons who have conducted the training programs. Step 3 is collecting the data. Okay, now we decided that we will we'll send a questionnaire across to the teachers of the districts, or sample of teachers will collect the data. Questionnaire is prepared, or you can think of observing the classes, you can think of analyzing the document. As I told you, you can analyze the documents and come out with what is expected or what are the gaps. Now, how are you going to do it? Always we need to, as soon as if we prepare a questionnaire, please do pilot testing, at least on a small group of teachers, and then prepare a schedule and assign roles and responsibility to the personals. ఎవరైతే డేటా కలెక్షన్కి వెళ్తారో ఐ థింక్ దే నీడ్ టు హ్యావ్ క్లారిటీ ఆఫ్ హౌ టు కలెక్ట్ ద డేటా. Many times it so happens that they just go and administer and they might not be able to even answer the questions of the teachers. So I think we need to train the people who are collecting the data. A rehearsal is required. Think of conducting a this online surveys also. As you're all aware, we have lot of mechanism in place where we can send the questionnaires through online modes. And classroom observation and focus group discussions can be done in face-to-face mode on a sample of teachers, so that we get to know what teachers want. Many times, we go with an assumption that this is what teachers need and we conduct the training programs. But teachers are not understood at all. So the improvement is not, as expected. So if we get from the horse's mouth, it becomes more convenient and more easy for us to reach the target. So once the data is collected, మీరు questionnaire ఇచ్చారు teachers కి, data collect చేశారు. Then you have gone and observed the classrooms and you have come out with a observation schedule. You have conducted a focus group discussion with the teachers and came out with their pointers. Now you will try to validate the data, analyze the data, triangulate the data, and arrive at the training needs. Like, for example, the training needs, maybe, Anganwadi workers till now, they were focusing only on nutrition of the children, but not on teaching, not on conducting activities. Probably when you observe the Anganwadi workers functioning, you might come across saying that they are making the children sit and eat, but not conducting the activities. Your observation becomes very important pointer here for conducting training program to Anganwadi workers. Now, identifying the needs through all these things, questionnaire, observation schedule, and focus group discussion or interviews, you may be getting a list of needs. All these needs need not be training needs. There might be some needs which can be met through orientation. Like Anganwadi workers need to be oriented on certain aspects. There must be something which can be trained, like how to conduct activity, what type of activities have to be conducted as per the calendar. That has to be a training program. Okay, so depending upon the list of needs, you will decide what type of program you need to provide it to the teachers. So the needs can be something related to training needs and something can be non-training needs. So that we need to identify. Once we identify and classify them, then we prioritize, okay, this year, what type of needs have to be met? So what type of training programs have to be given this year? For example, this year, if the textbooks have to be implemented, we have to focus on how to transact the textbooks for class 1 and 2 teachers. Or how to train, Anganwadi, how to prepare Anganwadi workers for the conducting the activities in the for the Balvatika stage. Balvatika stage lo ye activities conduct cheyali, Anganwadi workers ni dani prepare cheyalannadi priority aithe, that becomes the first priority. So you will think of conducting a training program for Anganwadi workers. So this is how you are going to plan training programs with specific objectives. Let me give some examples here. Like for example, if improving the content knowledge of teachers, this is for higher level, but let me take an example of teachers for improving the foundational literacy and numeracy. If the content knowledge or has to be improved, then content enrichment program has to be given. The focus is on content enrichment only. But generic training program, when we give, what is happening, their content is not enriched. The teachers who need content enrichment program have to be given content enrichment program. The teachers, activity have to be the teachers who need to be gender sensitized, because we may find some teachers who are not gender neutral in their approach. Mogapillalni oka rakanga, aadapillalni oka rakanga treat cheyadamu, lethe they are not really sensitive to that such needs. For such teachers alone, we can think of giving a sensitization program. Andariki ivalsina avasaram ledhu. So depending upon the need, the training programs can be arranged for the teachers. That's why we can question observation at the district levels. so that we identify the needs of the teachers. Actually, we can think of a portal where we can collect the data of the teachers and then plan the training programs, not for this year alone. ఒక్కసారి ట్రైనింగ్ నీడ్ అసెస్మెంట్ థరోగా చేస్తే we can think of planning training programs for the next 5 years also. So one-time investment, if we can invest our time, money and resources in identifying the training needs of teachers, then we can think of conducting training programs for the next 5 years. So we can think of preparing a training calendar for the next 3 years or 5 years. So it is very essential to identify what do the teacher wants. What are the needs of the teacher rather than we imposing a training program on the teachers. There are certain things which have to be given generic to all the teachers. For example, a new policy had come, new curriculum framework has come, everybody has to know, so there should be a generic program on that. So that we need not think of asking the teachers. We can give the training, an orientation on all these things to the teachers. But there might be certain training needs for each teacher. So we need to identify those needs and accordingly a training program has to be designed. ఓరియంటేషన్ ఎక్కడ కావాలో ఓరియంటేషన్ అక్కడ ఇవ్వాలి, హ్యాండ్స్ ఆన్ ఎక్కడ ఇవ్వాలో హ్యాండ్స్ ఆన్ అక్కడ ఇవ్వాలి. సో నీడ్స్ need to design. If we can think of again the modality, when to give a face-to-face modality, when to do it online. I request somebody is talking. Can you put it on mute? Yeah. So face-to-face eppudu cheyali, online eppudu cheyali. Vetiki face-to-face effective untundi, vetiki online effective untundi. Probably we also have to decide based on the needs again. So training needs become very essential. How to, I think first and foremost we should form a team. State దగ్గర నుంచి district నుంచి even to the cluster level, a team responsibility for the members of the team, and then we should orient all the members on training need assessment. We should design, we should plan, and we should develop questionnaires or observation schedules or document analysis. All these things we can think of doing it. And then there is an action plan which you can decide with a timeline, like when to go and administer the questionnaire, when to do a classroom observation of sample lessons, and then when to sit and analyze, identify the needs of the teachers, and then how to carry out the interventions, what type of interventions have to be designed. All these things can be done by a team which can be made at the state level, district level and different levels. So let me just come back and then we can think of having some questions. So basically what I want to tell you is right now, because you are planning to conduct training programs at the district level or cluster level or school complex level. Like for example, school complex kinda 8 to 10 schools if they are there, or 5 to 6 schools are there. It's very convenient to conduct a need assessment at the school complex stage. And think of conducting the training programs as per the needs of the teachers who are coming under that school complex. It's very convenient and very easily it can be done because the number is less. Okka school complex kinda, let us assume some 32 teachers are there. It's very easy. You can do sample observations also and identify the gap between what is expected and what is the current situation. And accordingly, the training programs can be conducted. I think this is how it has to be done. Can we have some questions so that we can have an interaction and probably I can get to know what is expected from you also? Ramamani madam, do you have anything specific to talk to?
హలో సరిత మేడం, రమామణి మేడం.
యా,
శ్రీదేవి గారు ఏదో అడుగుతున్నారు, మీరేమైనా చెప్పాలనుకున్నా స్పెసిఫిక్ ఏదైనా?
Yes, sir. And we want the PPT. The screen madam is showing is not visible totally to us. So we are
Okay.
thinking that we can ma'am share the PPT full screen.
Yeah, I'll share the PPT. బట్ నేనే అడుగుతుంది ఏంటంటే మీ డిస్ట్రిక్ట్ లెవెల్లో కానీ క్లస్టర్ లెవెల్లో కానీ లేదు స్కూల్ కాంప్లెక్స్ లెవెల్లో కానీ మీరు ట్రైనింగ్ నీడ్ అసెస్మెంట్ చేస్తే చాలా బాగుంటుంది అది. ఎందుకంటే మనము ఒకటి కరికులం ఫ్రేమ్వర్క్ ని టెక్స్ట్ బుక్స్ ని పెట్టుకొని మనం ట్రైనింగ్ ప్రోగ్రామ్స్ చేస్తూనే ఉన్నాము. కానీ గ్యాప్ ఐడెంటిఫై చేసి మనం ట్రైనింగ్ ప్రోగ్రామ్స్ ఇస్తే కనుక చాలా ఎఫెక్టివ్గా ఉంటుంది. బికాస్ వీ హ్యావ్ ట్రైడ్ అవుట్ ఇన్ చండీగఢ్. Actually, we have developed a manual on training need assessment in our department, and we use this in Chandigarh, and we found that it is quite useful in when we try to do a scientific way of the process of training need assessment. And when it comes from the teachers also, what do they need? Many times we neglect that. So I would request you, please go ahead with identifying the needs from the teachers side also, as well as even children. You can observe, especially Anganwadi workers. What I find that, because this is the first time we are doing the rigorous exercise, if we can do training need assessment, I think it will be wonderful, so that we'll get to know what exactly they need. So I feel that this exercise has to be done at the state, at district, and different levels, so that the training programs becomes more meaningful and effective. So yeah, I'll surely share the presentation with you. I'll share the presentation with you, because one thing is an orientation might be required for the teachers, especially to understand the competencies and domains and these curricular goals, how to reach them, and all these terminologies need to be known to the teachers of class 1 and 2 especially. Orientation is required. That generic orientations and all, anyway, state-wise we decide. But what are exactly the specific teacher needs? Probably to identify that, I think we should reach the teachers.
Yes, ma'am. SCRT is always involving Anganwadi teachers, whichever aspect of ECCE is concerned. We are always, whether it is content development or any course development or certificate course development, or as you said, training needs. For anything which is related to ECCE, we are making them to involve in the workshops and all other programs, so that we will get the correct feedback, as you mentioned, that what is the need actually they are required from us to give them the support needed for them academically. Because Anganwadi teachers are not that much oriented academically. They are more focusing on the nutritious part. So they are also expecting us to support them academically to transact the pedagogical process at the early years effectively.
Yeah, because especially Anganwadi workers, what we realize is the communication aspect. I think that's something very important, which is most neglected at that particular stage. So probably we need to look into those aspects also, the 3 broad goals which we have in front of us, like effective communication, health, and all these things. So probably that's what I was thinking. If we can identify the gaps, that would be convenient.
That too, state is closely working with Pradham under the SALT project in collaboration with Women and Child Department and SCRT. We are planning in convergence with that department only.
Yeah, I got to know it, ma'am. I just thought of emphasizing that aspect, so that even the school complex heads can even individually do it. That would be more convenient. I was just thinking that instead of coming from state to the school complex, I think these training need assessment can be done at the school complex level, because that would become more convenient. Handling 30-20 teachers or Anganwadi workers would be more easier than from the centralized method.
We even involve diets for these FLN case studies before taking the course modules. We gave the task to the diets itself to go to the collocated schools and find out what is being done there, and basing on their data only, the course requirement has been framed.
Okay.
Yeah. Hello, madam. My name is Balakrishna, and I'm working as a FLN consultant at Samagra Shiksha.
Okay.
So, as part of this 3-day program, I just wanted to check with you: is there any topic actually where we can work with the co-located Anganwadis, how we have to work with co-located, and what kind of support the primary school has to provide to that Anganwadi. So is there anything we are going to discuss in coming 3 days actually? So because in Andhra Pradesh, 10,927 co-located Anganwadis are there. But as per my knowledge, the support from the primary school is not getting up to the expectation to the Anganwadi. So that is the problem. So is there any topic which we are going to discuss in coming 3 days about this?
Ma'am, just I want to add to what Balkrishna sir conveyed. Just we want on which areas to focus to have a real convergence between Anganwadi and primary school, academically and also administratively. If you can focus on these areas in these 3 days, it will be very fetching for us to move forward.
This is completely for everybody. Reading.
Sir, Vishwanath, sir, you are saying something.
Okay, actually, this we don't have any specific session related to this co-locating the Anganwadis and other things. Just our main intention is particularly how can we support best for the implementation of FLN. So that is our concern. అందులో కావాలంటే నెక్స్ట్ మనం ఫాలో అప్ ఏప్రిల్ మేలో అనుకుంటున్నాం కదా. We'll see how we can how do we improve the relationship between these teachers and the
Yes, sir. Why I have raised this topic actually? So since you are the people who are going to keep in touch with the NCERT, so if you can take this issue, if you can bring this issue to their notice, I think they may come up with something actually. So it has to start from the national level and the state and district. That's how it has to. So I think this kind of topic or conversation has to start at some point and somewhere. So I thought that this is the best platform to bring it to your kind notice.
Let us see, but these 3 days we have not covered that particular topic.
Okay, that's fine.
And last day we'll take all these points into consideration.
Yes,
let us see how best we can do that in the next upcoming.
Okay.
So thank you. Madam Sridevi, please.
Sir. Yeah, if any other observations or anything?
Ma'am, carry on.
Yeah. Yeah, one second. Sir, something you are saying?
No, nothing actually. This they were keep on writing in the chat box for this in the PPT. You can share with Sarita madam so that she can distribute to this because through the group. Again, otherwise we have not created any group here.
Yeah.
Sending individually, it will take long time.
I'll share it with you, sir.
Yeah, you can send it to share it with me. I can pass on to Sarita.
Sure.
Or if you have a mail ID, you can directly send to her also. No problem.
I don't have anybody's mail ID, so I'll send it.
Okay, anyway, you can send it to me. I will.
Yeah. I think that would be convenient.
Okay.
Sir, one thing I just want to know. Actually, the purpose of this particular session, I just would like to know how it is, what exactly they are planning to do.
No, actually, వాళ్ళ సైడ్ ఏమీ లేదు. యాక్చువల్గా నిన్న ఈవినింగ్ ఈ టైం వరకు కూడా అన్సర్టనిటీ. తర్వాత ఈ టైం డిసైడ్ అయింది. దెన్ సరిత స్టార్టెడ్ యాక్టింగ్ నైట్. ఆమె లిస్ట్ ప్రిపేర్ చేసి పంపడము ఆ విధంగా అయింది. కాకపోతే ఇప్పుడు కమిషనర్ ఈజ్ ఇంట్రెస్టెడ్ టు గో ఓన్లీ ఫర్ దిస్ ఫేస్ టు ఫేస్. బాలకృష్ణ తర్వాత సరిత కమిషనర్ గారు వర్కౌట్ చేస్తూనే ఉన్నారు. The problem is now we know that our chief accounts officer
I know
not to go beyond 15th. That is the problem.
Yeah.
Only because of technical reason only we have to. Lesante manaki actually 9th, 10th, 11th schedule lo aithe convenient ga undedi. It is a face to face. It is in Mysore only, but meer kuda Mysore lone unnaru a time.
Avunu sir.
Sare ippudu ప్రస్తుతానికైతే నేను నా ఉద్దేశం ఏమంటే మెయిన్ ఇంటెన్షన్ ఆఫ్ కీపింగ్ దిస్ పర్టికులర్ సెషన్ అట్లీస్ట్ లెట్ దెమ్ బి అవేర్ అబౌట్ దిస్ హౌ దే కెన్ గో ఫర్ దిస్ ది ఐడెంటిఫికేషన్ ఆఫ్ ద నీడ్స్. స్మాల్ రైట్ అప్ ఉంటే కూడా వీ కెన్ షేర్.
I'll just share document is not published, so I cannot share it.
ఇంకో పని కూడా చేయొచ్చు మనము. జస్ట్ 1 minute సారీ. అట్లీస్ట్ బేస్డ్ ఆన్ యువర్ ఓన్ ఎక్స్పీరియన్స్ అండ్ మీరు ఆల్రెడీ ఒక ట్రైఅవుట్ కూడా చేశారు వేరే స్టేట్స్ లో. అదే లైన్స్ లో అట్లీస్ట్ వీ కెన్ డూ ఇన్ 1 block అట్లీస్ట్ ఒక మండల్లో ఏదైనా ఇండియర్ టు విజయవాడ. సో విత్ హెల్ప్ ఆఫ్ ఎస్సీఆర్టీ వీ కెన్ do this and next can do this is a procedure that they can follow like a kind of a model also we can show.
That can be done, sir.
Okay.
because some tools, everything we have drafted and we did it in Chandigarh. Just to try out the manual, we did.